What's on your mind, Amri?
I had an annoying visitor to my office yesterday. He said that he had found the largest prime number. In fact, he said that 113 is the largest prime number.
That sounds very unlikely. Aren't there lots of prime numbers?
Yes, indeed, I found a larger one. See, a prime number is a number that is not divisible by any other number that is greater than 1. So, we started looking at numbers that come after 113, like 114.
Right, but that's an even number divisible by 2.
115.
That is divisible by 5.
116, well, that's divisible by 2. What about 117?
That is divisible by 3, because if you add the digits, you get 9.
Right. So, well, I can skip even numbers. 119.
Okay, that's slightly trickier. That's, let's see, divisible by 7, because I guess 119 is 7 times, let's see, 17.
Then there's 121 divisible by 11. 123 divisible by 3, 125 divisible by 5. What about 127?
127, let's see. Doesn't seem divisible by any of these obvious ones. Maybe it is prime then.
Well, it's not divisible by 2, 3, 5. When I divide it by 7, it leaves a remainder 1. Dividing it by 11, it leaves 6. So, it's not divisible by any prime up to 11. We have to continue checking like this, I guess, right? Is it divisible by 13? So, if it's not divisible by any prime number smaller than it, then it must be a prime number, right?
Correct, yeah. So, we could try doing this, keep checking if it's divisible by every single prime number until 127. But there's actually a simpler way. It's actually enough to check for all prime numbers which are smaller than or equal to the square root of 127.
Square root of 127. Oh, that's just something like between 11 and 12.
Right. So, all you have to do is just check for all primes until 11, and that's something we just did, right? You just checked that it was not divisible by 2, 3, 5, 7 or 11. Those are the only primes smaller than or equal to 11. And since it's not divisible by any of them, 127 must be a prime number.
But why is it enough to check for primes up to 11 only?
Right. So, let me show you. So, let's look at the number 60, for example.
Okay.
You recall what are the factors of 60?
Okay. So, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, and
60 itself.
Yeah, 60 itself.
Yes, right. So, that's the entire list of factors of 60. Now, observe that the factors of 60 actually come in pairs. So, for example, 60 and 1, their product is 60. 30 and 2 form a pair. Okay, so 20 and 3, their product is 60, 15 and 4 is 60, 12 5s are and 6 10s are. So, you can sort of organize them into pairs whose product is 60.
Oh, I think I see now. So, if 127 had a factor that was greater than the square root of 127, it would also have a factor that is less than 127.
Absolutely.
It's a corresponding pair.
Correct. So, when you write a number n as a product of two things, if a and b are these two pairing factors, for example, both of them can't be bigger than square root of n. One will have to be smaller and the other will have to be bigger. Right? So, if it has a factor, it surely has a factor which is less than square root of n.
So, now we know that 113 is not the largest prime number, right? 127 is a prime number and it's greater than 113.
Right, but how do you know that 127 is not the largest prime number?
Well, I guess we could check 128, 129 and so on and see if we can find another prime number.
Right, we could do that, but how can you be sure that you would always be able to find another prime number?
That is not so clear. Like maybe, we will find something after 127 and maybe once again but at some point our luck might run out, right? We may not be able to find a larger prime.
Correct, exactly. So let me tell you how the ancient Greek mathematician Euclid solved this puzzle. So he's a Greek mathematician who lived somewhere around 300 BC. We of course heard of Euclid's algorithm and so on, what we have done earlier. Now, here's how Euclid would find another prime number. Okay, at given any list of prime numbers, he will give you a way of finding a prime number larger than it. So, what Euclid says is, let's not worry about finding the very next prime number. Okay. So, we were trying to do this. So, let's look at the primes until 2, 3, 5, 7 and so on. So, we realized 113 and 127 are both primes. Now, let's not try to find the very next one, but Euclid will prove to you that there exists a prime number that comes after 127. Okay, there's something larger than 127. So, his idea is the following. So, he said, let's just take the product. So, take all these prime numbers. So, take 2 times, 3 times, 5 times 7 all the way till 127. Let's call this some number n.
That's going to be a huge number.
It's an absolutely huge number. So here's sort of how it begins. If you really wanted to write it all out, n is 4, 0, 1, 4, 4, 7, 6, 9, 3, 9 and so on. A total of 49 digits and it ends 7730. Okay, so this is roughly 4 into 10 power 48. So that's about a 49 digit number.
And is that a prime?
Well, that's not going to be a prime because of course it's a product of all these primes. It's got lots of factors. Yeah. But what Euclid said is this very clever thing. He said, let's add 1 to this number. So let's look at n plus 1. Now, again, we could ask, is n plus 1 prime?
Okay, so is n plus 1 divisible by 2?
Well, what we know for sure is it is not divisible by 2 because n is divisible by 2.
Ah, okay. Is it divisible by 3?
So, n is divisible by 2. So, n plus 1 can't be divisible by 2, right? So, m can't be divisible by 2. Now, similarly, it's n is divisible by 3. So, n is divisible by 2, therefore, this. Similarly, n is divisible by 3. So, n plus 1 can't be divisible by 3 and so on. So, you keep going all the way till 127. For every prime, you do the same thing and you realize that this number m can't be divisible by that prime number.
So, is n plus 1 a prime then?
Well, n plus 1 may still not be a prime. All we know so far is that it is not divisible by this list of prime numbers that we have written out, 2, 3, 5 until 127. But remember, n plus 1 or what we are calling m has a prime factorization for sure, right? So, it may not be prime, but let's do the following instead. So, Euclid says, let's look at the prime factorization of this number. So, let's write it as a product of prime numbers q1, q2, qk. So, what are the qi's? They are all some prime numbers. Now, what we have said is that m is not divisible by the primes until 127. So, q1, q2, qk cannot be any of the primes until 127. So, observe qi is a prime number which divides m, right, because it occurs in the prime factorization. And what we have just observed says that qi can't be any of these primes that we know. So, what does that tell us?
Oh, so that tells us that there must be at least one more prime.
Absolutely.
Bigger than 127.
Exactly. So, every one of the qi's. So, in particular, we are only interested in finding one more. Let's take the very first prime number q1 in this list. It must be a prime number that's bigger than 127. Okay, and q1 is a prime. So, this doesn't find the very next prime number, but what it does is to prove to us that you can find one more prime number that's bigger than 127.
Very clever indeed.
Yes, and sort of by applying this argument in general, Euclid was able to prove that there is actually an infinite number of prime numbers. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, the same logic, you sort of argue by contradiction. So let's write this out as a theorem due to Euclid. It says there are infinitely many prime numbers. And in a sense, what we just now did is the argument or idea of the proof. So we can argue by contradiction. So remember, you've seen proofs by contradiction before. So by contradiction, suppose there are only finitely many primes. So we'll write them out. Suppose there are prime numbers. So let's call them P1, P2, Pk, and we'll do the same thing as before. We'll form their product. Okay, so let n be their product. So I'm calling the finitely many prime numbers as P1, P2, and Pk. So these are all the primes. Now consider, like we did in the earlier procedure, look at one more than this product. Then none of these prime numbers Pi does not divide M, okay, for all these prime numbers. But M is a natural number, it has to have a prime factorization. So M is at least 2. So you can always find at least one prime number which divides M. So look at, for example, Q1 which divides M, but Q1 cannot be any one of the Pi's. But okay, Q1 divides M, but we know that none of the Pi's divide M. So Q1 is not equal to Pi for any of the I's. Now that's a contradiction, because we assumed that P1, P2, Pk is the full list of primes. There are only finitely many primes. But here we have found one extra prime number, this number Q1, which is not equal to any one of the finite list of primes that we assume. So that's a contradiction. So this is sometimes called the infinitude of primes, that there are an infinite number of prime numbers.